Let's now take a little bit of a look at what's going on with coronavirus. We've got 4 more days of data. The coronavirus pandemic is kind of settling now into trends that are more about policy than early hotspots. And it is becoming very clear that it is overwhelmingly red states where the case growth is explosive. Now, in the United States in general, red states have worse education, they have worse health care, they have lower incomes, they have more poverty. And these are trends that we've seen in the United States for a long time. Now, early on in coronavirus, there were many right wingers who were almost delighting from seeing hot spots in large Democratic cities, often within Democratic states. We are now more than 3 months in. We're starting to see coronavirus spread correlate more with policy than simply where did it go first. And with some small exceptions, this is increasingly a red state problem. Take a look at this map where you will see a county by county growth level where either the trends are going in the right direction or in the wrong direction. And this is a much more precise way than simply looking at states or the country. If you're, I'll describe to you what we're looking at, but if you're watching, you will notice there are green and yellow colored counties. Those are doing well. That means they are either fully or almost under control with coronavirus. You then have orange and red counties, which are not good, okay? And as you can see, huge swaths of the country, including the Northeast, most of the West Coast, other than California, which continues to be a problem, much of the bluer states in between are going in the right direction. And yet, at a country level, we have crazy numbers of new coronavirus cases. How can this be? Well, it's because of the really disastrous red state counties. Almost all of Arizona is going the wrong way. Large parts of Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Georgia, both Carolinas, Florida. And if you look at day-to-day case numbers, the places that are now regularly having the new single-day case records are still California. We've talked about California, but then it's places like Florida, Texas, Arizona, again, the Carolinas, Georgia, a couple of the early hotspots, New York and Illinois, but then Tennessee, Virginia, Ohio. So do we have a unifying theory about what is going on here? We actually do, and I'm going to tell you what it is so that when these right wingers trot out the bogus talking points, you don't fall for them. Some of the talking points we're hearing from the right are things like, this is a Democratic city problem, which spread, no thanks to them, into red states. It's the fault of the Democrats. We've heard red states have more cases because they have more testing. We've heard this was allowed in from China because of stupid liberal blue state governors. And now we all have a problem thanks to them. We've heard the numbers are simply fake. We've heard southern states are a problem because Mexicans are bringing the virus across the border. All of this is wrong. All of this is wrong. Trump brags that now no one is coming over the U.S.-Mexico border. Trump has said the border is stronger than ever. Other than states lying about how low they claim cases to be, the huge case numbers are not because there is more testing going on. There really are more cases. This is all not true. And here's the unifying theory to understand. Early on, late 2019, early 2020, before we knew what was going on, before we understood the disease and how it spread, the disease was seeded, planted in urban areas with high direct traffic to the early hotspots. So here in Boston, we have tons of flights to Europe and to China and other parts of Asia. Nonstop flights here to Shanghai, Hong Kong, Japan, multiple cities, Beijing, etc. So it was seeded here in Boston. New York has two major airports that connect directly to China and Europe, JFK and Newark. Pennsylvania was an early hotspot. American Airlines has a huge hub in Philadelphia, huge flight hub back and forth to Europe and even some flights to Asia. Chicago is a big hub for American Airlines and United. Many international airlines also have nonstops to Chicago. You've got Los Angeles and San Francisco airports. So for 2 to 3 months, coronavirus was being seeded before we knew what was going on. And that's why those were the early hotspots. When we learned about what was going on and started stay-at-home orders, those places already had a huge amount of disease before we even had testing capacity. It was spreading for weeks, and you had a large base population, which contributed to huge spread in these places. We had it here in Boston, New York, Chicago, et cetera. So early, the spread was heavily related to where are people flying in and out of and giving it to other people. Now, over time, some states adopted serious policies for mitigation and some states did not. And over time, the numbers became less about flights and air travel, which have all but stopped, but more about policy. And once you let the policy differences play out for a few months, you see these dramatic reductions in places that were early hotspots, Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, which are crushing the disease right now, fortunately. I'm really thrilled, by the way, about what's going on here in Massachusetts. Things slowly reopening, safely reopening, which is good to see. And you see the explosion in the places that didn't have strict guidelines or they were simply ignored. That's what's going on in California, by the way. California has strict guidelines, but from all of the people I know living there, a lot of people are just ignoring them. That explains California. It also explains Arizona, Florida, Carolinas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana as the new growing hotspots. So policy clearly does matter. And at the rate things are going, if you don't reverse what's going on right now, in 15 days, you are going to have a large portion of the U.S. South that is going to be the world hotspot. There are states already. Arizona's growth rate for cases exceeds some of the worst countries right now, Arizona on its own. And meanwhile, Donald Trump held a rally in such a hotspot, Oklahoma, whose case rate is going up dramatically. So that is the lay of the land right now. We'll have some more detail about this tomorrow. I am now on Cameo. You can book me to troll your friends. I got booked for a bunch of Father's Day messages this week. Cameo.com/David Pakman, or just search my name on the Cameo app. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a really funny video I did for somebody on Cameo, but we'll take a quick break and be back after this.